Chapter 52:11. When Xiaohua activated the Kunlun mirror, boom boom boom. Faint lightning strikes faintly appeared in the sky. Ing Kuei watched as the lightning immortal was taken in by the Kunlun mirror's light pillar, then said, Xiaohua, your Dao sect immortal world's secret technique is no longer able to suppress the ascension force. If possible, put on my broken emperor armor first. It can temporarily block the lightning tribulation for you. All right. Xiaohua nodded. The celestial had already flown out and handed the broken emperor armor to Xiaohua. Xiaohua looked at the strange fluctuation on the broken emperor armor and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. If Junior had known earlier, I wouldn't have broken this emperor armor. This item is also a famous immortal imperial equipment of the heavenly court. When you ascend to the immortal world, you might have heard of it. Ing Kuei watched Xiaohua put on the emperor armor and said faintly, since you can break this item, your ability is far beyond what I expected. This immortal imperial equipment can also be refined. Later, pass it to Confucian Cultivator and let him refine it. I will give you the refining method later. Thank you, Senior. Xiaohua said sincerely. Ing Kuei was taken aback. He looked at Xiaohua, whose gratitude was genuine, and sighed, I'm really surprised. The immortals in the immortal realm of the Dao League are known for their selfishness. After taking advantage of others, they still claim that they are virtuous. This is the first time I've seen such a grateful cultivator from the Dao League. After all, I almost killed you before. This small matter shouldn't be taken as thanks. Others are others. Xiaohua is Xiaohua. Xiaohua said with a smile. Moreover, in Junior's eyes, although Senior's previous crimes are innumerable, with Senior's ability, you still made such a vicious oath to atone for your crimes. You are already Junior's role model. Death is easy, repentance is hard, atonement is even harder. Senior's blood sacrifice. I'm afraid there are countless people. With Senior's words, I don't know how long it will take to repay all of them. This is what I should do. Ing Kuei's face showed guilt, then he said to Xiaohua, also, although my strength has been weakened by 70%, but, if you need me, please do your best to ask. Senior. Xiaohua said sincerely, the matter of breaking the formation concerns the entire Dawn Rain continent. Junior has to explain it to the various sect masters of the Dawn Rain continent right away, so I won't speak any more with Senior here. Alright. Ing Kuei nodded and replied, since that's the case, then I'll stay in Dawn Rain continent for a few more days. Oh right. Xiaohua suddenly thought of something. He waved his hand and took out the coffin from the space. Ing Kuei could not help but cry out in shock when he saw the pitch-black coffin, with 8 lifelike dragons engraved on its 8 edges, and a ferocious-looking dragon head and a ferocious-looking tail respectively in front of the head and behind the tail. 9 dragons' coffin? Xiaohua nodded and said, that's right, this is something that this Junior obtained by chance. That day, this Junior didn't know what it was, but, with the help of that Senior from the immortal world, the outer layer of restriction was opened, and this coffin was revealed. That Senior was a Dao immortal from the immortal world, so he couldn't open this thing. Seeing Senior today, this Junior suddenly thought of something and wanted to see if Senior has a way to open it. Ing Kuei looked at the dragon scales on the 9 dragons that were filled with inexplicable carvings, then looked at the tadpole-shaped clouds that surrounded the 9 dragons, and asked curiously, why would the 9 dragons' coffin appear in Dawn Rain continent? Where did you get it? Xiaohua said with a smile, the place this Junior obtained is rather secretive. Well, it's fine if you don't tell me. Ing Kuei did not ask any more questions. He pointed at the dragon head and said, this 9 dragons' coffin is an item of the heavenly court. It's usually used to store corpses. Of course, it's also used to store secret items of the heavenly court. You can usually tell what's inside from the dragon head. If it's a corpse, the dragon head's eyes should be closed. If it's an item, the dragon head's eyes should be open. Xiaohua hurriedly looked at the dragon head. Sure enough, the dragon's eyes were open. The 2 Dao immortals who were injured by me were right. They can't open this 9 dragons' coffin. Moreover, if they use their divine abilities by force, they will be injured by the power of the 9 dragons on the 9 dragons' coffin. From the carvings on the 9 dragons' coffin, Although it's not set up by an earth immortal of the prime clear lineage, it's not something they can open. Xiaohua probed. Senior, can you open it? Ing Kuei said with a smile. If it was before I woke up, of course I could. But now, I'm no longer a book immortal. Of course, I can't open it. All right, Xiaohua was helpless. He raised his hand and was about to put the coffin away when Ing Kuei said, however, the 9 dragons on the coffin seem to have been set up in a hurry, and the book immortal who set it up is not strong. I have some common secret arts here. You can try them. Maybe you can open it. All right. Xiaohua nodded and said with a smile, if I can't open it, I'll give up. Otherwise, I'll keep thinking about it. Ing Kuei looked at the heavenly beings and said, I was defeated by you, so my things are all yours. These are all things of the heavenly court. You can't treat them lightly. Don't worry. Huang Tong said with a smile, your treasured sword, golden seal, and other things have been taken by us. Since you've decided to atone for your sins, throw away everything in this world. Ing Kuei said and took out a few things that looked like tortoise shells and handed them to Xiaohua. This is my cultivation method. There are also some strange things inside. I see that you also know about Confucian cultivation. When you meet a suitable Confucian cultivator, you can entrust them to you without worry. Speaking of this, Ing Kuei hesitated for a moment and transmitted his voice. In one of the tortoise shells, there's a stone tablet. It's said that it's related to a secret of the heavenly court. When you pass it down, you should explain it clearly. Don't let this stone tablet be destroyed. Xiaohua was surprised and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He transmitted his voice. Senior, you don't have to do this, right? Don't you Taoists talk about fate? Ing Kuei replied indifferently, this is the fate of another Confucian cultivator. Of course, if you think it's inappropriate, you can throw it away. Also, my execution platform is also an item of the heavenly court. If the Confucian cultivator you entrust enters the heavenly court, he can rely on it to have a meteoric rise. Alright. Xiaohua accepted it helplessly. Then, Ing Kuei took out a dozen things similar to Mo Yuntong and handed them to Xiaohua. This is the Red Cloud Festival commonly used by the heavenly court. It's different from the immortal slips of the Taoist immortal world. In the mortal world, you can use the light of clear eyes to look at it. There's the 9 dragons coffin suppressing seal and the secret technique to open it. Xiaohua took the Red Cloud Festival and didn't look at it carefully. He only picked the one with the 9 dragons coffin suppressing seal. Just as he was about to comprehend it, he suddenly raised his head and looked in the direction of the Huan country. He frowned and said, fellow Taoist Huang Tong, the sword cultivators of the Huan country are here. It seems like they've also received news from the Sky Patrol City. Go take a look and let them wait nearby. Paul said. Huang Tong spread her wings and flew away. Feng Wu also looked into the distance and said to Xiaohua, fellow Taoist, give the Kunlun mirror to I. I will take those fellow Taoists into the Kunlun wonderland. I'm afraid they can't stay in the Dawn Rain continent for long. Alright. Xiaohua handed the Kunlun mirror to Feng Wu and said, let the 3 kingdoms of cultivation and the sect leaders of the various sects who came here take a rest first. After this Taoist and Senior Ing finish dealing with the 9 dragons coffin suppression, this Taoist will tell them about the immortal array. I'll do as you say, fellow Taoist. Feng Wu grabbed the Kunlun mirror and flew away. Taoist sorcerer smiled and said, the commotion in the Sky Patrol City is too great. The sword cultivators, Tao cultivators, and soul cultivators of the Dawn Rain continent might all come here. Fellow Taoist, why don't you wait for a few more days? Xiaohua nodded. A bright light shone out of his eyes as he looked at the Red Cloud Festival. While Xiaohua was comprehending, Ing Kuei looked at Reverend Yun and asked in a low voice, you look like a dragon from the mortal world, but why do you have a strong aura of the dragon realm? Could it be that you're also banished to the Dawn Rain continent like me? Reverend Yun did not have a good impression of Ing Kuei. After all, these clones had become independent, and they were not as easily forgiven as Xiaohua. Reverend Yun gave Ing Kuei a sideways glance and said coldly, this is I's secret. I don't think I need to tell you, do I? Hee hee. Ing Kuei was a little embarrassed, but he asked again, Since it's a secret, I won't ask. But the axe you used just now, it looked like, that's the Pango axe. Reverend Yun interrupted before Ing Kue could finish. If fellow Taoist Xiao didn't stop me, I would have hacked it down. If that happened, you wouldn't even have the chance to atone for your sins. Not necessarily. Ing Kue opened his mouth and only said 2 words. Then he stopped and looked around. Looking at the doppelgangers, he asked curiously, "You are all from the Demon Clan, the Dragon Clan, and the Buddha Lord. How come you are together? And why are you following Xiao Hua's orders?" "We share the same ideals. What's the matter?" The Celestial tilted his head and said coldly, "Namo Maitreya." Maitreya chanted the name of the Buddha and said, "Benefactor, we are all from the 3 continents. Because of the calamity of the world-destroying mayfly, we have come to the Dawn Rain continent to break the Immortal formation." World-destroying mayfly? Ing Kue was shocked and asked curiously, "What is that?" "It is said to be a type of spirit insect from the upper realm, and it is not something cultivators from the mortal realm can resist." The Celestial answered impatiently, "It's best if you know anything about the Immortal formation, but if you don't ask." While they were talking, Xiaohua had already put away the Rosy Cloud Festival. He raised his hand and slapped on the top of his head, sending out 3 streams of innate energy. Seeing that, Ing Kue hastily stopped him and said, "Don't be hasty. 3 streams of innate energy are not enough to open the 9 dragons' coffin. This emperor will give you 2 more. Hearing this, Xiaohua raised his eyebrows and said curiously, "Senior, although this junior doesn't understand the cultivation method of the Heavenly Quartz Book Immortals, this junior just took a look. The mortal realm's Confucian Immortals cultivate the 5 Qis unifications, while the Heavenly Quartz Book Immortals cultivate the 3 flowers at one's prominence. Wouldn't this junior's 3 streams of innate energy be used to cultivate the 3 flowers at one's prominence? Senior, why did you give this junior 2 more streams of innate energy? P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, collect it, and give it a tip. Thank you, Alliance Master, Chuan Tong, for your tip. Thank you, Alliance Master, 15. Chapter 52:12. Hearing Xiaohua's question, Ing Kue smiled and said, "Don't the Tao Immortals of the immortal world emphasize that Tao begets 1, 1 begets 2, 2 begets 3, 3 begets all things? If you don't have all things, how can you cultivate to 3? Without 3, how can you cultivate to 2? I've never heard of anyone who can cultivate 3 flowers at one's prominence with only 3 streams of innate true qi. You're not a heavenly court immortal, so you might not be able to cultivate 3 flowers at one's prominence. When you have time, you can take a closer look and you'll know what I mean." Xiaohua also smiled. He understood Ing Kue's words. After thinking for a while, he said respectfully, "In that case, Junior thanks Senior." Ing Kue didn't hesitate. He raised his hand and pointed at his chest. 2 streams of innate true qi flew out like snakes. At this time, Ing Kue was like a kind old man. He was not the fierce man from before. Xiaohua's heart was filled with mixed feelings. He thought to himself, if this is the case, then human desire is the real heavenly devil. The so-called devil race in the devil world can't be compared with the devil in the human heart. This book Immortal is much stronger than Su Ji and Fairy Xingyu, but after he turned into a devil, it's even harder to control him. As the saying goes, virtue is 1 foot tall, the devil is 10 feet tall. Seeing the 2 streams of innate true qi flying over, Ing Kue's appearance became even older. Xiaohua hurriedly pointed at his chest. Buzz. 3 streams of innate true qi flew out and met Ing Kue's 2 streams of innate true qi. Swoosh. Before the 5 streams of innate true qi touched each other, many lights and shadows appeared in the void between them. Countless mountains and rivers surged out, and an indescribable majesty spread out in all directions. Xiaohua's 3 streams of innate true qi seemed weak, but they were brave. Ing Kue's 2 streams of innate true qi looked very strong. They emitted a strong aura of imperial power and a will of supremacy in the world. Xiaohua's innate true qi couldn't compare. When the 5 streams of innate true qi collided, There was a slight vibration at first, but in a moment, Xiaohua's middle dantian emitted the power of the heavenly heart. The 5 streams of innate true qi no longer entangled and flew into Zhao's dantian. Boom! When Ying Kuei's 2 streams of innate true qi, the lively qi in Xiaohua's chest was immediately ignited and surged crazily. Xiaohua didn't dare to neglect. He activated Heavenly Court. But these 2 streams of innate true qi from the Heavenly Court, and qi, and qi, and qi. Qi, Jesus, and qi. Qi, and qi. Qi, and qi. Qi, and qi. Qi, 5, of. Qi, cheat. Qi, true qi, 2 streams. Qi, cheat. Good. Ying Kuei's eyes were filled with surprise. He couldn't help but praise Qi. He had already understood that Xiaohua's Confucian cultivation base was definitely not what he had guessed. However, Ying Kuei was also somewhat convinced. If it were him, he definitely wouldn't have let 2 streams of innate true qi into his dantian so easily. Xiaohua's tolerance was beyond his reach. Seeing the 5 streams of innate qi rushing out, Xiaohua chanted the incantation. The 5 streams of innate qi intertwined with each other in midair, transforming into 10 inscriptions that were several zhang in size. The strokes of these inscriptions were very strange. Rather than words, it would be better to call them 10 knots. Puff, puff, puff. Xiaohua spat out innate true qi into the 9 knots. The 9 knots swayed and turned into 10 dragon images of different sizes. Only the last knot was still suspended in midair, emitting a golden light. Go! Xiaohua cried out softly. Together with the knots, the 9 dragon images pounced into the 9 dragons' mouths. The dragon fell into the 9 dragons' mouths at the same time, and the 9 dragons roared. Layers of dragon patterns mixed with vast inscriptions flowed from the 9 dragons' heads to their tails, and the entire black coffin turned into a dragon coffin. However, even after the dragon marks had dyed the 9 dragons, the 9 dragon images formed by Xiaohua's innate true qi did not completely fall into the 9 dragons' mouths. Similarly, the dragon coffin did not transform into a dragon image, and the 9 dragons did not hide. Xiaohua frowned. He gave Reverend Yun a look and cried out, "Fellow Taoist, please give I a hand." "Ah, that's easy." Reverend Yun laughed and said, "I've told you before, the fortune of Confucian cultivators is eyes." After saying that, Reverend Yun raised his head and sent 9 streams of innate true qi into Xiaohua's innate true qi. Boom! The 9 dragon images seemed to come alive as they rushed into the 9 dragons' bodies. They emitted a deep rumbling sound, causing the entire dragon coffin to tremble. It was during this trembling that the 8 dragon images around the dragon coffin slowly transformed into dragon patterns and fell into the dragon coffin. The dragon coffin then transformed into a giant golden dragon. Senior. Xiaohua was not in a hurry to form the last knot. Instead, he asked calmly, "Why is the fortune of Confucian cultivators so similar to the dragon energies? And why is the coffin of Heavenly Court's book Immortals also shaped like a dragon?" "The heavenly secret cannot be revealed." Ying Kuei shook his head and said, "This is the secret of book Immortals of Heavenly Court. You are just a Tao immortal from the immortal realm, so don't poke your nose into it." "All right." Xiaohua nodded helplessly. He raised his hand and pointed it at the last knot. Looking at the knot landing on the dragon's forehead, Xiaohua felt a little uneasy. Everything before was just a foundation, and only this last knot was the real foundation to open the dragon coffin. Sure enough, as the knot landed, more black and white light threads flickered, and countless phantoms appeared. Then, a collapsed void appeared at the dragon's horns. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk as the knot landed, an inscription of armor appeared in the void. While spinning, the inscription spread across the dragon's body. When the inscription had completely covered the dragon's body, a loud noise rang out, as if a door had been opened, and the dragon turned into a huge coffin character. "Ha, Xiaohua, you're really lucky." Ying Kuei laughed and said, "With your cultivation base, you can actually open this 9 dragons coffin." Apart from the fact that the strength of the book Immortal who sealed the coffin was too weak, It can only be explained by your luck. Xiaohua rubbed his nose. As he raised his hand and placed it on the word coffin, he said with a smile, Junior's luck has always been very good. However, before Xiaohua could finish his words, the wood character had already disappeared, revealing a space overflowing with dragon energy. When Xiaohua saw the thing inside the space, he couldn't help but cry out in surprise. Ah? How is this possible? Kue didn't step forward. He knew clearly that there must be something very important sealed in this dragon coffin. This was something that Xiaohua must obtain, and he had no reason to cause any trouble. However, when he heard Xiaohua's cry, he couldn't help but look at him and ask, "What's wrong? Is it something very strange? You can tell me what it looks like. Senior, come and take a look." Xiaohua sighed and said, "It's not just strange, it's extremely strange." Seeing that Xiaohua didn't care, Kue flew over. When he saw the thing inside the space, he couldn't help but cry out in surprise. How is this possible? That's right, how is this possible? Xiaohua's hand had already been removed from his nose. At this moment, he rubbed his nose with a bitter smile and said with a distressed expression, although Junior hasn't seen his true appearance, but Junior and his daughter are Dao companions, Junior can recognize him at a glance. He was clearly sitting on the dragon throne, full of vigor and energy, pointing out the world. How could he be lying in this dragon coffin? Moreover, this dragon coffin, Junior obtained it from a very secret place. He couldn't have gone there. Immortal Emperor? The Celestial looked at him in boredom and asked curiously, "This old fellow looks like this? Why is he lying in this coffin?" Following the gaze of the Celestial, there was a human several zhang tall, dressed in plain white clothes lying there. This human had a square face and thick eyebrows. Although his eyes were tightly closed, a strong aura of majesty was emitted from his body, forcing Xiaohua to stay away. Xiaohua had never seen this person's appearance before, but looking at his 70% resemblance to Princess Zixia, how could Xiaohua not know that he was Immortal Emperor Gochen? However, at this time, Xiaohua didn't have time to answer the Celestial. Instead, he looked at Kue strangely. He was surprised because Immortal Emperor Gochen was sitting in the Immortal Palace of the Three Continents, commanding the Confucian cultivators to resist the strange insects. How could he be lying in this coffin? Moreover, this coffin was obtained by Xiaohua from the heavenly prison. How could Immortal Emperor Gochen fall into the heavenly prison? He knew Immortal Emperor Gochen, but did Kue know him? Why was he so surprised? All of a sudden, Xiaohua's heart was filled with a sudden realization. Sure enough, Kue looked at Xiaohua and asked curiously, This is Heavenly Emperor Tianhuang of the Heavenly Court. Could it be, you know him? Heavenly Emperor Tianhuang? Xiaohua smacked his lips and shook his head slightly. This junior has never heard of this name, but this junior knows a Confucian Immortal Emperor from the Three Continents. His name is Immortal Emperor Gochen. Although this junior has never seen this Immortal Emperor's true appearance, this junior and his ninth princess are lovers, so this junior can recognize him at a glance. I see. Kue nodded slightly. Who knew what he understood? Did he know that Xiaohua knew Immortal Emperor Gochen? Or did he know that Xiaohua knew Confucian cultivation methods and had the heart of heaven because he and the ninth princess were lovers? What about Senior? Xiaohua looked at the majestic human and asked in a low voice. Kue glanced at Xiaohua and didn't dare to say much. He only explained, this emperor. Kue's body trembled slightly when he said the word, this emperor. He quickly changed his title and said, this old man has some status in the heavenly court and has seen the five sides. Oh, I mean Heavenly Emperor Tianhuang. Therefore, when I saw this emperor's appearance, I couldn't help but be surprised. Of course, if what you said is true and that Immortal Emperor Gochen looks exactly like this one, then it means that Immortal Emperor Gochen is an avatar of Heavenly Emperor Tianhuang who reincarnated in the mortal world. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Chidian, vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, collect it, gift it, and Chapter 52:13. At this point, Kue looked at the coffin with a fearful expression and didn't dare to say anything else. Xiaohua stared at the coffin in silence for a long time. The reason was simple. Even without Ying Kuei's explanation, Xiaohua already knew that there was another avatar of Emperor Tian Huang inside the coffin. This was a trap he had set up in another world. However, due to some reason, this avatar had fallen into the heavenly prison, and Xiaohua had managed to bring it out by chance. The problem was that there was already an avatar of Emperor Tian Huang in the 4 continents. If there was another avatar, what was he going to do? Emperor Tian Huang is immortal in the heavenly court. What annoyed Xiaohua the most was that Ying Kuei said, it said that the old man's doppelganger is also immortal. So, although the 9 dragons coffin is filled with corpses, the doppelganger is still alive. That's why the eyes of the 9 dragons are still open. Xiaohua's brows furrowed deeply upon hearing that the avatar was still alive. Ying Kuei continued, of course, that's only a legend. No one knows if it's true or not. It's also possible that avatars can be killed, but Emperor Tian Huang will know of the death of every avatar. That's why Emperor Tian Huang's enemies imprisoned this avatar and placed it inside the 9-dragon coffin in order to avoid detection from Emperor Tian Huang. However, no matter what, the 9-dragon coffin is already in your hands. Do you dare to throw it away? Xiaohua shrugged and his brows relaxed. Of course not, but I don't have the ability to awaken it. That's fine, right? Ying Kuei replied with a smile. Xiaohua's body swayed, and he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Senior, there's no need for you to tell me that, right? I'll pretend I didn't hear anything. You can pretend you didn't hear anything. Ying Kuei's smile was as wide as Aogeus. But His Majesty's avatar heard everything. He can't be awakened right now, but once he's awakened, he'll know everything that happened today. Woo! Xiaohua plummeted several dozen feet like a meteor before flying back up with a sullen expression. Senior, what do you mean by that? Are you really going to awaken Emperor Tian Huang's clone? Don't forget that the 3 continents already have a clone. Who knows what will happen when the 2 clones meet? Aren't there no Confucian cultivators in this Dawn Rain continent and only sword cultivators? Ying Kuei was puzzled. This realm is called the 4 Great Continents. Xiaohua briefly explained the immortal array. Ying Kuei was also dumbfounded when he heard that. In the end, Ying Kuei said embarrassedly, actually, if I awaken this avatar, he might be able to help you. Xiaohua's eyelids twitched, and he said helplessly, Senior, can't you? However, Xiaohua understood what Ying Kuei was trying to say. The avatar in front of him was no ordinary avatar. It was the avatar of Emperor Tian Huang. In order to atone for his sins, Ying Kuei had already sworn an oath that he would have to stay in the mortal world for a long time to atone for his sins. If he could form a good relationship with Emperor Tian Huang, it would be beneficial to his future cultivation. Of course, Ying Kuei's words were not without reason. Emperor Tian Huang was a powerful figure in the heavenly court. His avatars in the 4 great continents might not know about the immortal array, but his avatars in other realms might. Xiaohua thought for a moment and said, how about I discuss this with my fellow Taoists and give you an answer in the future? Ying Kuei nodded and said, I hope you can give me an answer in 3 years. Alright. Xiaohua agreed. He looked at the 9 dragons coffin and asked, there's no need to close it, right? Of course. Ying Kuei hurriedly replied, just put it in your storage space. The turtle shell I gave you is the best. Xiaohua put away the 9 dragons coffin, looked into the distance, and said to Ying Kuei, I'm going to meet the cultivators of the Dawn Rain continent. Senior, do you want to go with me? Of course. Ying Kuei said indifferently, you haven't told me why you want to break the array. Senior. Xiaohua thought for a moment and said, because of my appearance, you didn't succeed in the blood sacrifice, but you destroyed the Sky Patrol City, the Sword Tomb, and other places. Many sword cultivators and Taoist cultivators died. If you can apologize in person, perhaps it'll be better for you to atone for your sins. Ying Kuei frowned and thought for a moment, then shook his head and said, I'm sorry. I know you're thinking for me. Maybe I can do it in the future, but I can't do it now. If that's the case. Xiaohua thought for a moment and said, Senior, you can fly at the end. If I don't mention it, the cultivators of the Dawn Rain continent won't think of it. Ing Kuei nodded and said, "Then I'll have to trouble you." "Senior, you're welcome." Xiao Hua smiled faintly, waved his hand, and said to Taoist sorcerer and the others, "Let's go." "Fellow Taoist, please." Tian Ren glanced at Ing Kuei and stood in front of him, raising his hand to ask Xiao Hua to go first. Xiao Hua knew that Tian Ren was narrow-minded, so he smiled and flew toward the sects of the three kingdoms of cultivation. Xiao Hua and Ing Kuei shook hands and made peace, but the aftermath of the battle was still there. At this time, the Sky Patrol City, the Sword Tomb, the mountains, and the snowy plains were all gone. Only the messy ground was covered with cracks. In the direction of the Sword Tomb, the sword masters of the various sword sects of the Heng country had already arrived with their disciples. They were different from the Kunlun sect's sect master Xianjing and the Splendid sect's sect master Jianghu. They had also received the news that the Fortune Gate's disciples had besieged the Sky Patrol City, but they didn't care. Firstly, they didn't believe that the Fortune Gate's disciples would be so stupid as to risk their lives to besiege the Sky Patrol City. Secondly, they didn't think that the Heaven Patrol City's sword cultivators couldn't resist the Fortune Gate's disciples. Most importantly, they wanted to see the Mountain Patrol Sword Sect, the Flying Feather Sect, and the Quilted Mountain Sect's disciples make a fool of themselves. When they received the news that Xiao Hua had killed Luo Xingtian and led the Fortune Gate's disciples from the three continents to the Sky Patrol City, they were immediately shocked. They wanted to stop the battle between the Sky Patrol City and the Fortune Gate's disciples before Xiao Hua arrived. However, under the careful arrangements of the Void Heaven Sword School, the Bright Sword Sect, the High Wind Sword Sect, and the Yi family, they were still too late. Seeing the battle qi covering the Sky Patrol City, as well as the awe-inspiring qi, how could they not know that they were too late? However, even a spirit swordsman as strong as Rosie Butterfly was a little confused. She had never seen such a battle formation in her life. How could it be caused by the Sky Patrol City's disciples and the Fortune Gate's disciples? Just as they were feeling apprehensive and didn't know whether to advance or retreat, in the distant sky, countless auras that made them tremble with fear appeared. These auras were as powerful as the gods, and they were 3 times stronger than the divine sword auras recorded in their sword slips. Therefore, all the sword cultivators trembled and wanted to escape. At that time, the Xinyuan sword pierced through the sky, and the unparalleled divine sword force caused all the sword cultivators' flying swords to produce sword cries. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't control the sword intent. Even after the heaven and earth shook and the Xinyuan sword's aura disappeared, the sword qi around them was still like boiling water, churning for a long time, unable to be suppressed. Half a day later, the qi of heaven and earth faded slightly. A group of swordsmen gathered around a few spiritual swords and were just about to discuss when they saw a demon flapping its wings in the distant sky. An aura that was like a tidal wave surged toward them, scaring them out of their wits. In their knowledge, when had they ever seen such a ferocious demon race? Just as everyone was trembling with fear and didn't know how to face it, and didn't know what would happen to them, that demon actually used the language of the Dawn Rain continent to instruct indifferently. This old man is a good friend of spiritual Master Xiao. Come with me. Rosie Butterfly and the other spirit sword sect cultivators hurriedly suppressed the surging sword qi in their hearts and struggled to fly. Just when they were about to answer, the demon race completely ignored them and turned around to fly into the distance. That demon race was naturally Huang Tong. Although there were many swordsmen in the Huan country, in his eyes, they were just a group of ants. If it weren't for Xiao Hua's order, he would absolutely be too lazy to pay attention to them. Junior obeys. Rosie Butterfly and the others didn't dare to neglect and hurriedly passed down the order. Hundreds of thousands of swordsmen, as well as nearly 1,000,000 swordsmen who received the news, followed Huang Tong and flew in the direction of Sky Patrol City. When they flew closer, they were even more dumbfounded. This was because on the shattered ground in the distance, there were several times more Dao cultivators than the sword cultivators of the Huan country. They were neatly divided into several groups and quietly stood there. Needless to say, the tens of thousands of cultivators in front of them were famous sects from the Shi country, Meng country, and Lian country. Behind them were the slightly weaker sects from the other countries. Behind the three countries' cultivators were millions of low-level disciples. Although the Huan country's sword cultivators didn't recognize these disciples, they already knew that they must be the disciples of the Fortune Gate. As for behind these Fortune Gate disciples, there were hundreds of thousands of cultivators whose auras were more powerful than all the cultivators in front of them combined. When the sword cultivators' eyes and divine sense fell on these cultivators, their eyeballs almost fell out. Because most of these cultivators were Golden Core disciples, if these hundreds of thousands of cultivators swarmed up, no one in the Huan country would be able to deal with them. However, this was not the only thing that surprised them. Just as they stood still, another demon race that looked similar to the one who led the way flew over and landed on the heads of the Golden Core disciples. He said loudly, "Fellow Taoists, Fortune Gate disciples, listen to orders. Under Taoist Zhao's orders, you all are to return to the Kunlun Wonderland." "Yes, we will obey." As the demon race's voice fell, ripples appeared in the void near the Tao sect cultivators. Hundreds of thousands of nascent soul cultivators in armor separated and formed a team in midair. As the demon race waved a magic tool that looked like a bronze mirror in his hand, these teams were sucked into the bronze mirror. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, vote for it, vote for it, give it a tip, and thank you for the Book of Flight, for your tip, thank you. Chapter 52:14. Even though Qi Liandia was a spiritual sword, she was so scared that she couldn't even breathe. A nascent soul cultivator was a sect leader in the three countries of the Dawn Rain continent, but in front of this demon, according to Taoist Master Zhao's command, he was just a squad. Could it be this? This is Taoist Master Zhao's Fortune Gate disciple? All the sword cultivators held their breath and watched quietly. Their hearts were as if struck by lightning, and their curiosity was like a cat scratching at them. They secretly thought, could it be there are other more powerful disciples? The sword cultivators were not disappointed. In the place where their divine sense longed for, more than 100 scattered nascent soul cultivators appeared proudly. Qi Liandia, Ruyin, Qing Minghua, and Chong Taishu were not calm. These four sword masters who controlled the Heaven One Saiyan light sword formation had now advanced to spiritual swords. They looked at more than 100 scattered nascent soul cultivators whose cultivation they couldn't see through, but there were faint lightning bolts rushing out uncontrollably nearby. They were so surprised that their hearts were numb. They clearly knew that if one of these 100 scattered nascent soul cultivators appeared in the Sky Patrol City in the past, the Sky Patrol City must be a Tao cultivator. Fairy Luo Hua, Taoist soaring dragon, were just fleeting clouds. However, the scattered nascent soul cultivators, who were like gods in their eyes, obediently listened to Taoist Master Zhao's command and flew into the bronze mirror and disappeared. Just as these scattered nascent souls disappeared, the distant horizon once again appeared a solid figure as big as a mountain range, with an aura as vast as the sea. There was a bald man who looked like a ferocious god, a valiant dragon with a huge body, a soul warrior with mysterious starlight shining all over his body, and a monk with a compassionate face standing on a 9th-grade lotus throne. These cultivators seemed to have supreme strength in the world, but which one of them was not an all-powerful figure? However, these cultivators were all clustered around a thin Tao sect disciple as they slowly flew over. This cultivator's eyebrows were slanted, and his eyes were like stars. A faint smile hung on the corners of his mouth. Although he didn't speak, that charming smile had spread over the whole earth. Even the moonlight that had just emerged from the clouds in the distant mountains couldn't compare. Moreover, between this cultivator's eyebrows, a faint arrogance and inherent domineering aura involuntarily emerged. When the cultivator's gaze swept over, it leisurely emerged. This was the true demeanor of a king. Even the scorching sun at noon couldn't reach it. Xiaohua. The gazes of millions of human cultivators were all focused on this person, and all of them were chanting the same name in their hearts. Big Brother Xiao. Behind the Fortune Gate disciples, where Yuan Ya and the Black Bear Spirit were standing proudly, Huang Mengxiang moaned like a love-struck fool. You're finally here. I knew long ago that you would rule the world one day, but I really didn't expect this day to come so quickly. Beside Huang Mingxiang were naturally Li Zongbao and Wuxia. When Wuxia heard this, she frowned slightly and used her right elbow to nudge Fairy Hongxia, who was standing beside her. However, Fairy Hongxia did not pay any attention to Wuxia. Instead, she stared fixedly at Xiaohua's familiar body. Among the millions of cultivators in the Daybreak Rain continent, there was probably no one who was more familiar with this ordinary physical body than her. However, at this moment, this body was standing before everyone and before her eyes. This light made this body seem incomparably glorious, and Fairy Hongxia felt a sense of unfamiliarity. "What's wrong with you?" Wuxia asked in a low voice. Fairy Hongxia shook her head slightly, as if she had just woken up. She looked at Xiaohua and whispered, "Nothing." "That's your husband," Wuxia reminded in a low voice. "Don't let others snatch him away." "I know." Fairy Hongxia bit her lips and replied in a low voice. Yuanya stood at the side, pretending not to have heard anything. However, the black bear spirit smiled loyally and said, "Mistress, don't worry. As long as Master has you in his heart, no one can snatch you away." Hearing the black bear spirit with unfathomable strength call her mistress, Fairy Hongxia felt a sense of incredulity. She could not help but whisper, "Senior, I haven't." Before Fairy Hongxia could finish speaking, the black bear spirit fell to his knees and kowtowed. "Mistress, why are you calling me senior? If Master finds out, won't he chase me out of the fortune gate?" "Quickly get up, quickly get up." Fairy Hongxia's face was red as she hurriedly waved her hand and said, "I won't say any more." "Yes, yes." The black bear spirit hurriedly got up and said with a smile, "I will listen to Mistress's orders." Seeing how the black bear spirit treated Fairy Hongxia, Huang Mingxiang was extremely jealous. However, whether it was the black bear spirit or Yuanya, they did not even look at her. This made her grit her teeth. At this time, Xiaohua had already flown to the front. As he looked around, he saw that within a few hundred miles, there were millions of cultivators. Some were sword cultivators, some were Dao cultivators, and all of them were unusually respectful. No one dared to make a sound. Xiaohua opened his mouth, wanting to say something. However, before he could say anything, the black bear spirit looked at Yuanya and bowed. Disciple respectfully requests sect master to ascend to the throne. How could the black bear spirit have such thoughts? These words must have been taught by Xiongyi. At this time, Xiongyi and Li Xiang also led the disciples and bowed. Sect master respectfully requests sect master to ascend to the throne. "Ha!" Xiaohua chuckled and waved his sleeves. Boom! A deafening boom reverberated in the air. The throne of creation flew out in a spectacular manner. Tens of thousands of bolts of lightning surged and fell below Xiaohua. This throne of fortune was naturally formed by Xiaohua's divine ability. However, it was real in front of everyone's eyes. When Xiaohua sat down, another thunderous roar could be heard. The throne of fortune soared into the sky, and millions of lights turned into illusions of various colors and fell everywhere. Tens of thousands of lightning bolts rushed into the sky and turned into clouds that enveloped Xiaohua and the others. Seeing such a majestic scene, the Dawn Rain Continent's Fortune Gate disciples who were standing behind the Dao cultivators were ecstatic. At the same time, they knelt in midair and kowtowed. Disciple greets Dao Master Xiao. There were more than 2 million Fortune Gate disciples who came to the Sky Patrol City. Although nearly 30% of them died in the battle with the Sky Patrol City's sword cultivators, there were still more than 1 million disciples. When these million disciples kowtowed in unison, it was like a tsunami. Not to mention the various Taoist cultivation sects, even the sword cultivator disciples were shocked. Kunlun sect's sect master Xianjing did not dare to be negligent. He hurriedly bowed and said, "Junior Xianjing greets Dao Master Xiao." Kunlun sect's disciples also bowed and said, "Junior greets Dao Master Xiao." Seeing that Xianjing had spoken and the Kunlun sect's disciples bowed, all the other Dao cultivators' sect masters and disciples came to their senses and bowed, "Junior greets Dao Master Xiao." When the Dao cultivators bowed, The various sword cultivators also hurriedly bowed and said, "Junior greets Tao Master Xiao." In an instant, millions of cultivators bowed and millions of disciples knelt. All the Dawn Rain Continent's cultivators were kneeling in front of Xiao Hua. Li Zongbao, Kai Wuxia, Fairy Hong Xia, Huang Mengxiang, and the others naturally did not bow. However, when they stood in the sea of people, they appeared so small. Huang Mengxiang's eyes flickered with a dreamy luster, while Fairy Hong Xia's eyes revealed an indescribable expression. Facing so many cultivators bowing, Xiao Hua did not feel uneasy. He raised his hands and circulated his divine ability. Millions of cultivators felt as if a pair of invisible arms had appeared in front of them, slowly lifting them up. Tao Master Xiao. Although they were so far away from Xiao Hua, the Fortune Gate's disciples had never felt so close. The God in their hearts was so close that they felt as if he was personally lifting them up. Therefore, some of the disciples who had not stood up were already crying and shouting, "Tao Master Xiao, you're finally back." Xiao Hua looked at these devout disciples. The crystal-like Godhead behind his head emitted a faint light, and the power of faith surged into his body even more fervently than before. Xiao Hua looked at the Fortune Gate's disciples and smiled. "Yes, this Xiao is back. In the future, all of you will really be my Fortune Gate's disciples." Tao Master Xiao. All the Dawn Rain Continent's Fortune Gate's disciples wanted to shout something, wanted to say something, but all the words that reached their mouths were blocked. It was as if 1,000 words could not compare to the 3 words Tao Master Xiao. A soundless cry was born from the bottom of their hearts. Xiao Hua smiled faintly. Although his figure moved slightly, the millions of disciples felt as if they saw Xiao Hua land in front of them. The face that had been clearly engraved in their hearts suddenly appeared in front of them. All the disciples' faces flushed red, and they were unable to control themselves. "All of you have worked hard." Xiao Hua spoke again. "When this Xiao was not on the Dawn Rain Continent, all of you actually developed the Fortune Gate into such a force. This Xiao is truly grateful." Tao Master Xiao. All the disciples choked again. But Xiao Hua changed the topic. "Now that the Dawn Rain Continent's other sects and sword cultivators are here, this Xiao will talk to them about official matters first. When the official matters are over, this Xiao will talk to all of you about my Fortune Gate's private matters. How about it?" Disciples dare not delay Tao Master Xiao. All the disciples were moved to tears. Xiao Hua's words showed that he did not treat them as outsiders at all. Thinking back to how Xiong Yi and Li Xiang had led the Fortune Gate's disciples, the disciples' hearts burned with passion. After appeasing the Fortune Gate's disciples, Xiao Hua looked at Fairy Hong Xia and smiled faintly. He then swept his gaze over Li Zongbao, Kai Wuxia, Zhang Qingxiao, Huang Mengxiang, and the others. He then looked at the Mountain Patrol Sword Sect, Flying Feather Sect, and Quilted Mountain Sect that were guarding the Heaven Patrol City, as well as the Void Heaven Sword Sect, Bright Sword Sect, and High Wind Sword Sect that were attacking the Fortune Gate's disciples. He said indifferently, "You all either fell for Yi Yaoyan's trick, or you colluded with Yi Yaotian to fight my Fortune Gate's disciples in front of the Heaven Patrol City. Let's not talk about the outcome of this battle. Your hands are stained with the blood of my Fortune Gate's disciples." Before Xiao Hua could finish, the sword cultivator's face changed, and he hurriedly bowed again. "We have made a big mistake. Please punish us. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, bookmark it, and Chapter 52:15. Xiao Hua said coldly, "A debt of blood should be paid with blood. But seeing that all of you have fallen into Yi Yaoyan's trap, and Yi Yaotian has already been executed, this Xiao will no longer pursue the death penalty. I hope that all of you will take this as a warning to cultivate more in the future and kill less." Yes. The sword cultivators were terrified and lowered their heads in agreement. "As for the rest of you," Xiao Hua looked at the Seven Skills Sect, Xuanyan School, and the Cleansing Flower Sect, and said, "What do you think of my Fortune Gate's current strength?" Spiritual Master Yang Yu's eyes turned and he hurriedly answered, "Spiritual Master, your Fortune Gate is already the #1 sect on the Dawn Rain mainland. It won't be a problem for you to sweep through the 3 countries." Then what if my fortune gate exterminates the 7 skills sect? Xiaohua asked indifferently, as the 7 skills sect master, what do you think? Sweat dripped from spiritual master Yang Yu's forehead. He opened his mouth, but his mouth was dry. He didn't know how to answer. Behind spiritual master Yang Yu, spiritual master Yi Xian, spiritual master Wu Hongzi, and spiritual master Jing Huan were sweating profusely. They didn't dare to raise their heads lest Xiaohua asked them. Yes, although your sect is weak, it is still your foundation. You naturally don't want my fortune gate to exterminate your sect. Xiaohua didn't expect them to answer. He continued, judging from this, you should understand the thoughts of the lightning-controlling sects Fairy Xianhua and the others. Of course, you can also say that you were instigated by the falling star sky. But ask yourselves, if you didn't have selfish thoughts in your heart, how could you have fallen into his trap? Yes. Spiritual Master Yang Yu originally wanted to say that he was deceived by Qi Jianghai, but seeing Xiaohua's imposing manner, he didn't dare to quibble. He could only agree submissively. With this Xiao's current strength, it would be a loss of this Xiao's face to bicker with you. Xiaohua continued, but if this Xiao doesn't bicker with you, it would be a loss of my fortune gate's face. Sect heads, how do you think this Xiao should handle this? Seeing Xiaohua let go of the Void Heaven Sword School and the other sword cultivators and make things difficult for the 4 sects of the state of Shi, not to mention Taoist Yang Yu and the others, even Xian Jing didn't understand. However, a moment later, Xian Jing had an idea. He quickly bowed and said, Taoist Xiao, although Junior didn't participate in the siege of the Imperial Thunder School, Junior received a message from Falling Star Sky in the Kunlun Mountains. He wanted Junior to make things difficult for the Rock Border School. However, Junior thinks that since we are all cultivators of the state of Lian, there's nothing we can do about it. Therefore, I didn't agree. Today, the Shanghua sect and the other 4 sects in the country of Shi are too selfish and caused internal strife in the country of Shi. Taoist Yang Yu and the others immediately understood what Xiaohua was trying to say. They knew that Xiaohua hated internal strife the most. Xiaohua could let go of the blood feud between the Heavenly Patrol City and the Fortune Gate, but he could not let go of the Shi country's 4 sects besieging the Imperial Thunder sect. Therefore, Reverend Yang Yu, Reverend Yi Xian, Reverend Wu Hongzi, and Reverend Jing Huan did not dare to be negligent. They hurriedly knelt in midair and said in unison, Reverend Xiao, we were wrong. We hereby swear that we won't dare to cause any more trouble in the future. He. Xiaohua smiled slightly, helped them up and said, there's no need for an oath. I'm warning you today because I want you to understand that among the Dao cultivators, the country of Shi is 1, the country of Meng is 1, and the country of Lian is also 1. If compared with the sword cultivators, the 3 countries of cultivation are also 1. In this great war of Dao sword, you all did very well. However, if compared with the Liu Immortal alliance that is 1,000,000 miles away from the Meng Mountains, the sword cultivators and the Dao cultivators are also 1. With that, Xiaohua raised his hand and pointed in the direction of the Kuei-He Sea, and said, if compared with the Confucian cultivators, the Buddhist sect, and the demon clan on the other side of the sea, the cultivators of my Xiaoyu continent are also 1. Xian Jing and the others were puzzled. However, Xiaohua did not explain. He pointed to the sky again and said, but if compared with the demon clan in the 10,000 demon realm, the human cultivators, whether it is the Dao cultivators, the Confucian cultivators, the Buddhist sect, or the soul cultivators, are all 1. Even under the current great calamity of the world, we are also 1. If we don't work together, how can we pass down our Dao teachings? How can we continue our bloodline? As soon as Xiaohua said this, within several hundred miles, whether it was the sword cultivators or the Dao cultivators, whether they understood or were ignorant, all bowed and said, yes, what Taoist Xiao said is right, we all understand. Good. Xiaohua's wisdom eyes had been opened long ago. Looking at the crowd, he did not point it out. His gaze fell on the heavenly demon 13 sect's disciples. He looked at Zhang Qingshao meaningfully and said, this world can be divided into heaven and earth, yin and yang, and naturally can also be divided into good and evil. Who is good and who is evil, who is right and who is wrong, this Xiao does not dare to say. I'm afraid only the Heavenly Tao knows. Since the Heavenly Demon Sect can exist now, there is naturally a reason for its existence. If Sect Master Jiang has great talent and vision, he can manage the Heavenly Demon Sect in an orderly manner. This Xiao will not interfere too much with the development of the Heavenly Demon Sect, and also will not let the Fortune Gate force the freedom of the Heavenly Demon Sect's disciples too much. What Zhang Qingxiao wanted was for Xiao Hua to acknowledge the Heavenly Demon Sect in front of the entire Dawn Rain Mainland's Tao cultivators. At this time, he was overjoyed to hear Xiao Hua's words. He quickly bowed and said, "This one is very happy to receive Taoist Zhao's high opinion." This one really did not know that the Earth Fiend Sect, Earth Spirit Sect, and Renhua Sect had besieged the Fortune Gate's disciples. This one originally came to ask for forgiveness, but before this one could say anything, Taoist Xiao had already forgiven them. Although this one is happy, there is also fear in my heart. The 3 sects' ordinary disciples can be pardoned, but the 3 sects' sect masters must be killed. Of course, this matter will be dealt with by this one. There is no need for Taoist Xiao to think too much. Xiao Hua nodded and said, "Sect Master Zhang is considerate." Also, Zhang Qingxiao continued, "This one feels that he was not strict enough and offended the Fortune Gate. This is this one's fault. Therefore, today, in front of Taoist Xiao and all the cultivators in the world, this one passes the sect master's position to Yin and asks Taoist Xiao and the other sect masters to be witnesses." "Lord Sect Master?" Yin was shocked and hurriedly flew out, shouting, "How can you?" Zhang Qingxiao smiled and said, "This one has offended Taoist Xiao, so naturally, this one must ask for forgiveness. I hope that the Heavenly Demon Sect can flourish in your hands. Of course, you must know how to sit on the sect master's position and what you should do in the future." "Yes." Seeing that Zhang Qingxiao had made up his mind, Yin bowed and said, "Disciple knows what to do." Xiao Huan nodded and said, "Since this is the case, this one will not say anything about the Heavenly Demon Sect's matter. I believe that my Fortune Gate's sect masters will handle it themselves." "Thank you, Taoist Xiao." Zhang Qingxiao and Yin bowed at the same time and retreated into the crowd. Finally, Xiao Hua looked around, looking at the other sword cultivator and Tao cultivator sects, and said loudly, "Everyone, this one is very grateful that all of you came from all over the Dawn Rain Mainland to support my Fortune Gate. This one has not set foot on the Dawn Rain Mainland for more than 700 years. Since I suddenly returned today, naturally, I have something to say to all of you. Even if all of you did not come today, this one would have chosen another day to gather all the sect masters for a discussion. Since all the Dawn Rain Mainland sects are here today, then there's no better time than the present. This one will tell you all the things that this one wants to say. Would all of you like to discuss with this one?" Taoist He Ping and the others respectfully said, "Taoist Xiao, please feel free to instruct us. As long as we can do it, we will definitely do it." Supreme Clarity Sect's Taoist Yu Qing also hurriedly said, "That's right, please instruct us." Xiao Hua looked at Taoist Yu Qing and said meaningfully, "Since this is the case, this one will first thank Taoist Yu Qing and Supreme Clarity Sect's disciples." Taoist Yu Qing was stunned and asked in a low voice, "What does Taoist Xiao mean?" "Everyone." Xiao Hua did not return to Taoist Yu Qing, but sat on the fortune throne, looking at the crowd and said, "There is a Tao in heaven and earth. Tao gives birth to one, one gives birth to two, two gives birth to three, and three gives birth to all living things. All living things have spirits and can cultivate. Because of different races and different perception, they are divided into Taoist, Confucian, Buddhist, and Yao. Taoist is divided into Yuanying, Jindan, and Jinshan. Yuanying is divided into Qi refining, foundation building, Jindan, Yuanying, Dishen, void refining, unification, Mahayana, and Dujia. Jindan is divided into Qi refining, spirit returning, void refining, and Tao merging. Jinshan is divided into Qi refining, spirit returning, void refining, and Tao merging. Jinshan is divided into Qi refining, spirit returning, void refining, and Tao merging. Jinshin is divided into qi refining, spirit returning, void refining, and Tao merging. Jinshin is divided into qi refining, spirit returning, void refining, and heaven merging. Jinshin is divided into qi refining, spirit returning, void refining, and Tao merging. Jinshin is divided into qi refining, spirit returning, void refining, and Tao merging. Jinshin is divided into qi refining, spirit returning, void refining, and heaven merging. Jinshin is divided into qi refining, spirit returning, void refining, and Tao merging. Jinshin is divided into qi refining, spirit returning, void refining, and Tao merging. Jinshin is divided into qi refining, spirit returning, void refining, and heaven merging. Jinshin is divided into qi refining, spirit returning, void refining, and Tao merging. Jinshin is divided into qi refining, spirit returning, void refining, and heaven merging. Jinshin is divided into 9 turns golden body. Confucian is divided into qi refining, spirit returning, void refining, and heaven merging. Taoist Yu Qing originally paid attention to the meaning of Xiaohua's words, but when he heard what Xiaohua said, he was stunned again. He did not know what this Tao had to do with thanking the disciples of the Taiqing sect. However, Xian Jing of the Kunlun sect was different. When he just heard the first sentence from Xiaohua's mouth, his heart immediately trembled. Without hesitation, he sat down cross-legged, turned his 5 hearts to the sky, and closed 4 of his 5 senses. Only his ears were left, and he listened attentively. The Kunlun sect was indeed worthy of being a sect passed down from ancient times. Seeing Xian Jing like this, the other Yuanying disciples immediately woke up. They did not care about anything else, and immediately sat down cross-legged and listened carefully. When the Kunlun sect was like this, Taoist Yu Qing and other leaders of the Taoist cultivation countries woke up and hurriedly sat down cross-legged. There were also leaders who whispered to their disciples to listen to the lecture. As for the sword cultivators, strong spiritual swords such as Butterfly and Zhuaming were also stunned at first. Even if they heard it clearly, they still did not understand. After half a cup of tea's time, these spiritual swords suddenly changed their faces and revealed their swords to listen. When the spiritual swords were like this, the transforming sword and illusory sword were even slower. When they woke up and listened to the lecture, it was already a cup of tea's time later. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to the Qidian to subscribe to support, vote for a month, vote for a recommendation, collect, reward, and thank all forms of support. Chapter 52:16. Naturally, the disciples of the Fortune Gate were different from the other sections. Whether it was the disciples of the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range led by Xiong Yi or the Fortune Gate disciples of the Dawn Rain Continent, they all regarded Xiaohua as a god. Xiaohua's preaching was like a golden rule to them. After a few words, they immediately understood. Under the moonlight, the night sky near Sentry City was unusually quiet. There was no snow, no wind, no rain, and no fog. The stars in the sky shone brightly, reflecting the brilliance of the cultivators on the ground. The whole world was shrouded in an indescribable Tao. Xiaohua's words were like gurgling water that flowed into the ears of millions of Dawn Rain Continent cultivators and slowly nourished their hungry and thirsty hearts. Tao was fate, and the depth of this fate was not only in the comprehension of Tao, but also in the epiphany. Millions of cultivators heard the same words, but their hearts were different. There was joy on the faces of the Fortune Gate disciples, bitterness on the faces of the cultivators from the 3 countries, sadness on the faces of the sword cultivators from the Huan country, and realization on the faces of the Heavenly Demon sect disciples. For a time, all kinds of feelings appeared on the faces of the cultivators, day and night appeared, and the sun rose. Xiaohua looked around with a smile and finally said, "The Tao has a heart, and it is divided into good and evil. Using a kind heart to use the Tao, there will be good results. Using evil thoughts to use the Tao, there will be bad results. Today, this Xiaohua preaches and hopes that the cultivators of the Dawn Rain continent will use good results as their thoughts and tread on the Tao with kindness. After he finished speaking, Xiaohua sat on the throne of fortune, looked up at the sun, and said one word, "Good." As soon as this word came out, it immediately turned into thousands of words, like butterflies flying everywhere. Millions of cultivators were near and far, but the word "good" did not fall far. Almost at the same time, millions of good words entered the heads of all the cultivators. Dang! Everyone was startled awake and raised their heads to look at Xiaohua. Just at this moment, the gentle sunlight shone on Xiaohua's body. The throne of fortune's lightning flashed in the sunlight like a dancing dragon. Xiaohua's benevolence and magnanimity subdued tens of thousands of cultivators. Without waiting for the Fortune Gate's disciples to open their mouths, all the sword cultivators and Tao cultivators knelt in midair and kowtowed in thanks. Disciples thank Master Xiao. Xiaohua smiled faintly. His charm in the sunlight was unparalleled for a moment. He patted the throne of creation he sat on, and rumbling sounds rang out. Countless lightning hands appeared out of thin air and lifted up everyone who had fallen to their knees. His voice, brimming with compassion, rang out again. "Everyone, please rise. I, Xiaohua, have received the great favor of heaven and earth. I have cultivated to transcend tribulation and become the supreme ruler of humanity. This is my fortuitous opportunity, but it is also a gift from the heavenly Tao. Therefore, I do not dare to enjoy the heavenly Tao alone. I will share my understanding of the heavenly Tao with the world. I hope that everyone can obtain the grace of the heavenly Tao and step into the ranks of the great Tao." Tribulation? Human Mahayana realm? The several million cultivators were stunned on the spot. Xiaohua ignored everyone's shock and continued. "I was born in the Dawn Rain mainland. Although I have only cultivated to the Gold Core realm, my roots are in the Dawn Rain mainland. I have traveled through the three mainlands, the hidden Immortal continent, the Western Paradise, the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm, the 10,000 Demons World, and the Chilan mainland. Today, I have returned to the Dawn Rain mainland, which is also the Yi-Lin mainland's Heaven Alliance and Tao Alliance's Lost Land. I saw an unknown cultivator from the Defeat Immortal Alliance in the Starfall Heavens. He actually stirred up trouble on my Dawn Rain mainland, so I took action to eradicate him. Today, the Tao that I have imparted to you is in the hands of my Fortune Gate's disciples. In the future, you can look for my Fortune Gate's sect master. They will definitely teach you according to your circumstances." The cultivators were wild with joy and bowed. "Thank you, Taoist Xiao, for your generosity." However, Xiaohua changed the topic and said, "However, I obtained this Tao from the three mainlands. Today, I am announcing this Tao to the public on behalf of the three mainlands Tao cultivators and even the human race. I sincerely request the Dawn Rain mainland's cultivators to use the inheritance of Tao cultivators and the human race's bloodline to save the three mainlands' billions of lives." Xiaohua didn't mention saving the world, nor did he ask for anything in return. He only preached the Tao for one night, then threw out the Tao cultivation method, and finally asked all the Dawn Rain mainland's cultivators to lend a helping hand. The cultivators' blood was already boiling. Xianjing shouted, "Taoist Xiao, if you have any instructions, just say it. As long as Taoist Xiao gives the order, my Kunlun sect's disciples will definitely," without waiting for Xianjing to finish, Taoist Yuqing also said in a clear voice, "Previously, Taoist Xiao has said clearly that you need the help of my Tai Ching sect. Now Taoist Xiao can say it clearly. My Tai Ching sect doesn't say anything about the human race's bloodline or Tao cultivator inheritance. We will use the entire sect's strength to save the world." The other sword cultivators were all impassioned. "Good." Xiaohua clapped his hands and said, "Since that's the case, I thank everyone on behalf of the three continents' human race. Everyone, please calm down and listen to this Xiao's explanation." After everyone calmed down a little, Xiaohua told them about the calamity of the three continents in full detail. He also told them about the situation of the 10,000 Demon Realm and the Yi-Lin mainland. Until now, the Dawn Rain mainland's cultivators finally understood that the world was so big. The Dawn Rain mainland that they regarded as the world was just a lost land of the Yilin mainland, and the entire enormous Yilin mainland was just a corner of the 4 great continents. In the east of the Guihe Sea, there were the boundless 3 continents and 3 rivers and 4 seas. Even outside of the 4 great continents, there was a 10,000 demon realm that was dominated by the demon race. However, all of this was isolated by a large array that might exist. They lived under the protection of this large array. In just a moment, the various sect leaders frowned again. The ordinary cultivators of the Dawn Rain mainland might not think too much, but the sect leaders couldn't help but think more. The outside of the Dawn Rain mainland was so exciting, but how much excitement was left for them? After the large array was broken, the various sects would come to find them. What would the cultivators of the Dawn Rain mainland and even the various sects do? Xiaohua had already thought about it. He looked around and said, perhaps some cultivators feel that what does the destruction of the 3 continents have to do with our Dawn Rain mainland? We're content to stay in a corner and cultivate ourselves. However, why don't you think about it? If the large array wasn't broken, our Dawn Rain mainland would forever be a lost land, forever forgotten by Dao cultivators. Just a cultivator from the Immortal Alliance who wasn't famous could become the Vice Alliance leader of the Immortal Alliance in our Dawn Rain mainland. Falling Star Heaven is still considered good. They also have misgivings about the other cultivators of the Immortal Alliance and haven't run amok. If there was an unreasonable person, the current Dawn Rain mainland would already be a bloody scene. Besides, isn't this Xiao a living example? If this Xiao hadn't left the Dawn Rain mainland, in these 1,000 years, I would have cultivated to the nascent soul realm at most. How could I have reached the tribulation transcendence realm? This Xiao is only 1 step ahead. After me, there's still all of you and your descendants. Buzz. Hearing this, all the cultivators' blood boiled and they couldn't help but whisper. Xiaohua had a smile on his face and didn't stop them, allowing them to let their imaginations run wild. After the time it took to brew a cup of tea, everyone calmed down again. Xiaohua spoke again. The ancients have a saying, viewing the sky from the bottom of a well. Therefore, breaking the large array and helping the 3 continents save the world not only helps the billions of living beings in the 3 continents, but also helps the cultivation of us Dao cultivators. The outside world is so big and there are so many opportunities. How can we be content in a corner? Be ants in the eyes of others? Zhuo Ming and Zhuo Lingjian hurriedly bowed at this time and said, Dao Master Xiao, this junior schemed against the fortune gate and offended Dao Master. However, after hearing Dao Master's words, this junior knows that this was not only because of my personal interests, but also because this junior's knowledge is shallow. If there is such a world in the east of the heavenly sea, how could this junior lay his hands on his own people? Since Dao Master has said so clearly, this junior already understands. If Dao Master has any instructions, just say it. This junior will do his best to help. Good, this Xiao thanks Zhuo Lingjian on behalf of the cultivators of the 3 continents. Xiaohua helped Zhuo Ming up with a smile and said, however, this Xiao also wants to be honest. This Xiao wants to ask for everyone's help. However, this Xiao doesn't know how to help. After all, this large array is innate and not something that can be done by humans. Therefore, this Xiao explained the reason in detail to everyone. Please pay attention and see if you know anything related to the large array. This junior understands. Zhuo Ming hurriedly turned and ordered, quickly, pass down Dao Master Zhao's order. If any disciple of the High Wind Sword sect can provide information about the large array, this old man will reward them handsomely. Since Zhuo Ming said so, the other sword cultivators and Dao cultivators also passed down the order. Then, Xiaohua looked at Dao Master Yu Qing of the Tai Ching sect and said, Dao Master Yu Qing, this junior is here. Dao Master Yu Qing hurriedly bowed and said, Senior, what instructions do you have? Xiaohua waved his hand and a storage bag flew in front of Dao Master Yu Qing and said, This is a greeting gift from this Xiao to the Tai Ching sect. Please accept it. What is this? Dao Master Yu Qing was somewhat puzzled, but Xian Jing's eyelids twitched. Take a look first. Xiaohua replied with a smile. Dao Master Yu Qing opened the storage bag and took a look. Naturally, his expression changed greatly. An indescribable ecstasy appeared in his eyes. Senior. Dao Master Yu Qing suppressed the ecstasy in his heart and carefully put away the storage bag. He looked at Xiao Hua and said respectfully, I wonder what my Tai Ching sect can do for the 3 continents? The 3 peaks of heaven, earth, and man. Xiao Hua looked at Dao Master Yu Qing and said word by word. Dao Master Yu Qing was stunned, as if he didn't understand. He asked curiously, the 3 peaks of heaven, earth, and man? Dao Master, what do you mean by this? Xiao Hua said with a smile, although this Xiao doesn't know how to break this Xiantian large array, this Xiao already has some ideas. I know that to break this large array, one has to topple the Tai Ching sect's 3 peaks of heaven, earth, and man. This. Dao Master Yu Qing was shocked and cried out, how is this possible? My Tai Ching sect is in Meng country. The Xiantian large array that Dao Master Xiao said is in the Qianhe Sea. How can my Tai Ching sect's 3 peaks of heaven, earth, and man be related to the large array? P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support, vote for a month, vote for a recommendation, collect, reward, and thank you for all forms of support. Chapter 52:17. In front of all the cultivators of the Dawn Rain continent, Xiaohua couldn't explain the immortal formation in detail, but he still explained the phenomenon of the heaven, earth, and mortal peaks, as well as his own inference. Finally, he said, therefore, although I know that the formation can be broken by toppling the heaven, earth, and mortal peaks, I don't know how to topple it, and whether the several supreme cultivators who came with me can topple it. That's why I asked the cultivators of the Dawn Rain continent to help me find clues to break the formation. But no matter what, the heaven, earth, and mortal peaks, I'm afraid we can't protect them. The things in the storage pouch can be considered my compensation to the Tai Ching sect. The heaven, earth, and mortal peaks were the key to breaking the formation, and toppling these 3 peaks was imperative. Therefore, Xiaohua didn't waste any time on pleasantries, and looked at Taoist Yu Qing with bright eyes. Taoist Yu Qing's mouth was bitter, and his heart was filled with regret. He knew that Xiaohua must have a request from the Tai Ching sect, and he was prepared to use the Tai Ching sect's power to help Xiaohua, but he absolutely didn't expect that the Tai Ching sect would pay the price of toppling the heaven, earth, and mortal peaks. The heaven, earth, and mortal peaks were the foundation of the Tai Ching sect's 3 sects. How could they be toppled just like that? Taoist Yu Qing had an impulse to return the storage pouch, but looking at Xiaohua's gaze, in front of all the cultivators of the Dawn Rain continent, Taoist Yu Qing hesitated. At this time, Xian Jing hurriedly said, Taoist Xiao, Junior doesn't know what my Kunlun sect can do for the 3 continents, and Junior also hasn't heard about the innate formation, but my Kunlun sect has a Kunlun secret realm that only the sect masters can enter. My Kunlun sect is willing to invite Taoist Xiao to the Kunlun secret realm, hoping to obtain information about the innate formation from there. Good. Xiao Hua nodded slightly and said with a smile, I accept Kunlun sect's good intentions. In the future, Kunlun sect will be my Fortune Gate's ally. After this matter, please contact my Fortune Gate's Fortune Gate. For the matters of the Dawn Rain continent, my Fortune Gate will advance and retreat with Kunlun sect. Thank you, Taoist Xiao. Xian Jing was overjoyed and hurriedly thanked him. On the other hand, Taoist Yu Qing's heart trembled, and he instantly came to a realization. The person in front of him was the supreme being of the human race, the number 1 person on the Dawn Rain continent. The Fortune Gate that he controlled was the number 1 force on the Dawn Rain continent. Not to mention his Tai Ching sect, even the entire Dao Cultivation sect combined wouldn't be a match for him. The other party had taken out a storage pouch in front of all the cultivators in the world, and he had made a promise in front of all the cultivators in the world. How could he go back on his word now? Even if the other party didn't explain it to him and directly went to the Tai Ching sect to topple the 3 peaks of heaven, earth, and man, what could he do? There were billions of living beings in the 3 continents. All righteousness seemed insignificant in front of these billions of living beings. Not to mention, just a moment ago, this human supreme and the Fortune Gate he controlled had resisted the unknown blood formation and saved him and the entire Dao cultivator sect from the brink of death. Thinking of this, Taoist Yu Qing immediately made a decision. He bowed and said, reporting to Taoist Xiao, in order to save the billions of lives in the 3 continents, all the disciples of my Tai Ching sect are willing to listen to Taoist Zhao's orders and do anything, even if it means toppling the 3 peaks of heaven, earth, and man. However, all the disciples of my 3 sects are on the 3 peaks. I have to explain this matter to them and evacuate everything on the 3 peaks. Therefore, I hope Senior can give me some time. A smile appeared on Xiaohua's face. He rose from the throne of fortune and cupped his fists, saying, on behalf of the billions of lives in the 3 continents, I thank the Tai Ching sect for the sacrifice you have made for them. I won't say anything unnecessary. Just tell me whatever conditions the Tai Ching sect has. I dare not say too much, but as long as it's within my power, I'll agree to it. On behalf of the Dragon Island and the Dragon Clan of the 4 Seas, I'll agree to it as long as it's within my power. Taoist Yun took a step forward and said majestically. Taoist Wu also took a step forward with a smile on his face and said, on behalf of the millions of soul cultivators of Meng Mountain and Wuming Mountain, although they were not harmed by the apocalypse, we soul cultivators will agree to whatever conditions the Tai Ching sect has. Namo Maitreya Buddha. Maitreya Buddha stepped forward and said, on behalf of the Buddha, I'll agree to whatever conditions the Tai Ching sect has. Caw. The phoenix parasol flew out, its enormous wings covering the sky as it shouted, this Taoist is the #1 great sage of the 1,000 demons sacred realm. This Taoist will represent the demons of the 1,000 demons sacred realm and agree to any conditions of the Tai Ching sect. Hee if that's the case. The celestial also flew out, shaking his head as he cried out, on behalf of the old man Gauchen of the Immortal Palace, I promise you that the Confucian cultivators of the hidden Immortal continent will agree to whatever conditions the Tai Ching sect has, and will also agree to any cultivators who can help break the formation. The various supremes revealed their cultivation realm and strength one by one. Waves of supreme aura shrouded the surrounding 10,000 li like a tidal wave. In the originally gloomy sky, hurricanes howled as all kinds of strange phenomena appeared one after another. Some were covered in dragon patterns, some were filled with stars and moons, and some were paved with Buddhist light. Once again, everyone was dumbfounded. A moment later, the Tai Ching sect's Taoist Yu Qing smiled bitterly and said, the things Taoist Xiao gave me in the storage pouch have far exceeded this junior's expectations. As for the specific conditions, this junior can't say. However, please rest assured, this junior also guarantees in front of all the cultivators in the world that my Tai Ching sect's disciples will not use this as a threat to make excessive demands. That's great, Xiaohua said with a smile. In a few days, I'll lead everyone to the Tai Ching sect to visit Taoist Yu Qing. At that time, we'll discuss how to break the formation together. All right, this junior will wait for Senior's arrival at the Tai Ching sect. Taoist Yu Qing bowed and retreated into the crowd. Xiaohua looked at the crowd and then at his feet. Finally, he raised his voice and said, everyone, my Fortune Gate's disciples are too many. If we were to place them anywhere in the cultivation world, it would cause a change in the strength of the 4 countries. Now that the Sky Patrol City is gone and this 10,000 li snow domain is in ruins, this Xiao wants to establish the Fortune Gate here. What do you think? When Taoist He Ping heard this, he immediately smiled and bowed. Taoist Xiao, you think too much. Although the Fortune Gate is an iron army, they are also benevolent and righteous. We Tao cultivators would welcome them anywhere in the cultivation world. Why do we have to establish a sect in this bitter cold place? Chong Taishu and the other spirit swordsmen smiled bitterly. However, they looked at each other and bowed. We have no objection to where Senior wants to establish the sect. If we temporarily place it near the Sky Patrol City, it would be convenient for us Tao cultivators to send messages to the Fortune Gate to break the formation. What spiritual master He Ping said just now is not wrong. The spiritual chi of heaven and earth in this place is not as abundant as in other places. Please reconsider. Xiaohua waved his hand and said, the Fortune Gate's disciples I brought today are only 1% of my Fortune Tao Palace's disciples. The other disciples have already established their sects in the West Sea. If the formation is broken, all of my Fortune Gate's disciples will return to the West Sea. If the formation is not broken, then my Fortune Gate will consider establishing a sect here. 10%? Everyone was shocked again. While everyone was still in shock, Zhang Qingshao flew over and bowed. Taoist Xiao, I have already said that I am here to ask for forgiveness. However, I have just checked. My heavenly demon sex, 4th sex Earth Fiend sex Deputy sex Yu Zhongkue, the 6th sex Earth Spirit sex Deputy sex Yang Ji, and the 8th sex Renhua sex Deputy sex Yao Qingxi have all fallen in the battle. The other 3 sex disciples are here under orders. They cannot be blamed. Sect Master Zhang is too polite. Xiaohua smiled. However, Zhang Qingshao continued, I have also said that I am not strict with my subordinates. I must take responsibility for this. Therefore, I have also said that I will pass the Heavenly Demon Sex Sect Master's position to Yin in front of Taoist Xiao and all the cultivators in the world. I will no longer be involved in the Heavenly Demon Sex matters. Since Taoist Xiao is so straightforward, I will not delay any further. Xiaohua nodded and said, This is Sect Master Zhang's choice. I am very pleased. The previous grievances between my Fortune Gate and the Heavenly Demon Sect will be written off today. Where is Yin? Zhang Qingshao shouted. Zhang Qingshao had already discussed the rules with Yi Yin when he proposed to pass the position in front of everyone. Yin did not dare to be negligent. He hurriedly stepped out and bowed, Disciple is here. From today onwards, you are the Heavenly Demon Sect's Sect Master. Everything in the Heavenly Demon Sect will be handed over to you. Zhang Qingshao raised his hand and brushed Yi Yin's forehead as he said, From today onwards, everything in the Heavenly Demon Sect has nothing to do with me. Lord Sect Master? Zhang Qingshao had already said this before, but at that time, he did not really give up the position of Sect Master. At this time, before Yi Yin could speak, all the Heavenly Demon Sect's disciples knelt down and kowtowed. Please take back your words. The Heavenly Demon Sect was built by you. My Heavenly Demon Sect cannot be without Lord Sect Master. Zhang Qingxiao's heart instantly softened, and 2 lines of heroic tears fell uncontrollably. Hee. Xiaohua smiled slightly and said, Sect Master Zhang, although this Xiao has just returned to the Dawn Rain mainland, this Xiao has heard from the Thunder Control Sect and other cultivators that although the Heavenly Demon Sect has some evil deeds, your reputation is still resounding. Since the Heavenly Demon Sect's disciples can't leave you and this little friend Yi can't take over the Heavenly Demon Sect for a while, you might as well be the Grand Sect Master for the time being. Zhang Qingshao was naturally reluctant to leave the Heavenly Demon Sect, but his situation was different and he had to leave. After hearing Xiaohua's words, he pondered for a moment and nodded. Since that's the case, this one will listen to Taoist Xiao and temporarily be the Grand Sect Master of the Heavenly Demon Sect. However, this one will let Yin take care of all the sect's affairs. The Heavenly Demon Sect's disciples were overjoyed and kowtowed. Thank you, Grand Sect Master. Thank you, Taoist Xiao. Seeing that the Heavenly Demon Sect's affairs were over and everyone had left, Xiaohua did not say anything else. He stood in front of the throne of creation and raised his hand, saying, This one has finished what he wanted to say. I hope that everyone will immediately search for information about breaking the formation after returning to their respective sections. As I said before, as long as there's valuable information, this one will thank you regardless of the cost. Yes, this junior understands. All the cultivators bowed and saluted. This junior will take his leave and immediately search for the formation-breaking rope according to senior's instructions. Please. Xiaohua raised his hand to send them off. After all the sword cultivators and all the Dao cultivators of the sects saluted, they organized themselves and left. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support it, cast a monthly vote, cast a recommendation vote, collect a collection, reward, and thank all forms of support. Chapter 52:18. The Dawn Rain Mainland's Fortune Gate's disciples naturally did not need to leave. They stood there proudly as they watched the Fortune Gate's patriarchs lead their disciples to land in front of Taoist Xiao. They bowed and left. An unprecedented sense of pride rose from the bottom of their hearts. It took half a day for the sword cultivators and Dao cultivators to leave. After the last cultivator left, Zhong Haoren, Zhong Zhan, and Fei Yunshu looked at each other and hurriedly flew to the front of the fortune throne. They respectfully knelt down and kowtowed, "Disciple greets Taoist Xiao." Wang Jianqing and the others looked at each other. They wanted to go over, but Zhong Haoren and the others were different from them. Without Xiaohua's order, they did not dare to move. "Haoren." Xiaohua looked at Zhong Haoren and the others. He stood up and said, "You've worked hard." Taoist. Hearing Xiaohua's words, Zhong Haoren's tears instantly fell. He sobbed, "Disciple is guilty. Disciple shouldn't have brought Fortune Gate's disciples to the Heavenly Patrol City to risk their lives." "No." Fei Yunshu did not dare to raise his head and hurriedly said, "This is not Martial Uncle's fault. Junior is willing to share the responsibility with Martial Uncle." Zhong Zhan opened his mouth, but no words came out. He only kowtowed silently. Xiaohua looked at the three of them. How could he bear to blame them? He smiled and helped the three of them up, saying, "There is no right or wrong in everything. You may feel right today, but you may feel wrong tomorrow. I cannot judge whether what you did in the Heavenly Patrol City was right or wrong. Only you and the Heavenly Tao can judge. However, you have all followed my instructions and built the Fortune Gate to its current state. I know that this is a great contribution to all of you." Xiaohua waved his hand and 3 immortal peaches appeared in front of them. He instructed, "You don't have much time left, eat the immortal peaches first." The 3 of them burst into tears and ate the immortal peaches. Wang Jianqing and the others were envious as they watched the 3 of them slowly turn gray. Xiaohua then said, "The Fortune Gate besieged the Heavenly Patrol City because of a fake sect master's token. I have found out from Yu Tong that the sect master's token was forged by the Yu family for the Heng country's Yi family. Yu Tong's methods are far from what you know, so it's nothing for you to fall into their trap. Moreover, even if you didn't fall into their trap this time, they would still have other methods, so you don't have to blame yourselves too much. A weak Fortune Gate is nothing but a fat piece of meat in their eyes." "Yes, we understand." Zhong Haoren and the others kowtowed. "Furthermore, with your temperament, it is indeed difficult for you to be the leader of a sect. In the future, hand over the disciples to the 2 leaders, Xiong Yi and Li Xiang, and focus on your cultivation." As Xiaohua spoke, he waved his hand and placed several storage pouches in front of the 3 of them, saying, "This old man will have a specialized disciple guide you." "Thank you, spiritual master." Zhong Haoren, Zhong Zhan, and Fei Yunshu heaved a long sigh of relief and kowtowed to express their gratitude. "You can leave." Xiaohua nodded. He looked at Wang Jianqing and the others and said, "Come over here." Although there were many Fortune Gate disciples, their strength was too weak. In just a short while, Fishing Isles Suchong, Heavenly Competitive Pavilions Zhuahong, Bright Wisdom Pavilions Wucheng, and Yuanfeng Strongholds Zhouji had all fallen. Only Chu Hong Factions Wang Jianqing, Cloud Pavilion Forts Su Zhonglin, Burning Crane Societies Zhaoming, and Yensun Manors Qingjizi were still alive. Hearing Xiaohua's words, no one dared to be negligent. They hurried over and kowtowed in greeting. "Although this old man doesn't know any of you." Xiaohua looked at them and smiled, "Since you all consider yourselves Fortune Gate disciples, then this old man will not be partial to you. Here are immortal peaches, replenish your lifespan first." Disciples thanked the sect chief. Wang Jianqing and the others received the immortal peaches and said, "Although disciples consider ourselves Fortune Gate disciples, there are still selfish desires in our hearts. From today onwards, disciples will offer all disciples to the sect chief, and dare to be ordinary disciples." Xiaohua nodded. "This old man understands your intentions. All of you have the ability to lead, how can you be ordinary disciples? Millions of Fortune Gate disciples should be led by someone. After my Fortune Gate's 2 sect chiefs take a look, I will make arrangements for all of you." Yes, disciples understand. Everyone ate the immortal peaches, and Xiaohua gave them cultivation technique jade slips before retreating. "Everyone." Xiaohua looked at the millions of Dawn Rain Mainland's Fortune Gate disciples and spoke. Before Xiaohua could finish, all the disciples shouted in unison, "Disciples greet Taoist Xiao." Although the greetings were the same as before, Xiaohua could still feel the passion in these disciples' hearts. Good. Xiaohua stood up and clapped his hands, saying, "Since all of you are my Fortune Gates disciples, this old man won't say much. Those senior brothers and martial uncles around you, as well as those powerful seniors you saw earlier, are all your role models. As long as you cultivate with peace of mind and listen to the Fortune Gates orders, this old man can guarantee that the scene you saw in the Sky Patrol City will never happen again. Not only will you sweep across the Dawn Rain mainland, you will also sweep across the 4 continents." Disciples understand. All the disciples shouted in unison, "We are proud to be Fortune Gates disciples." Subsequently, Xiaohua raised his hand and pointed at the ground, smiling, "Disciples, don't judge this place by its bitter cold and harsh climate. This is where the Sky Patrol City is located, and it is also where Dao and Sword cultivators fight for. Now that the Sky Patrol City has been destroyed, we have established a sect here to grab the throats of Dao and Sword cultivators. This old man will leave this place to all of you. I hope that 10 years later, this old man will be able to see a unique Fortune Dao Palace on the Dawn Rain mainland. Yes, disciples will follow Taoist Zhao's orders and build a Fortune Dao Palace for Taoist Xiao in this snowy region." All the disciples respectfully replied. "Xiongyi, where is Li Xiang?" Xiaohua raised his head and shouted. "Disciples are here." The 2 Fortune Gates sect chiefs flew out and bowed. "This old man will leave these cute disciples to all of you." Xiaohua emphasized each word, "All of you must treat them as nephews and juniors. You must not show any favoritism." "Sect Master, please rest assured." Xiongyi and the others respectfully replied, "Disciples dare not do such a thing." Subsequently, Xiaohua instructed Xiongyi and Li Xiang to recruit over 100 Fortune Gates disciples. Then he slapped the fortune throne once more, and the light screen shattered, and everything disappeared. Xiaohua turned to look at Ing Kuei and chuckled, "Junior has made a fool of himself in front of Senior." "Don't mention it." Ing Kuei laughed. "This old man also walked the same path in the past. You've done well, far better than this old man. Senior already knows about the 3 continents calamity. Do you have any good ideas?" Xiaohua probed. Ing Kuei shook his head slightly. "This old man has never seen the world-destroying monster worm, so there's nothing much to say." "Perhaps." Ing Kuei stopped here and didn't say anything else. Xiaohua knew that Ing Kuei was referring to the other Emperor Tianhuang's clone, so he didn't continue the conversation. He smiled and said, "Since that's the case, Senior can chat with these few Dao friends. Perhaps you can think of something." Ing Kuei knew that Xiaohua was monitoring him, so he didn't say anything and nodded. Xiaohua took a deep breath and looked in the direction of Fairy Hong Xia and the others. However, when he saw them clearly, he frowned. This was because there was an unfamiliar cultivator standing beside Li Zongbao. Xiaohua's figure blurred, and he landed in front of everyone. The cultivator didn't dare to be negligent, and he hurriedly bowed. "Junior Heng Feng greets Dao Master Xiao." Dao Master Xiao. Li Zongbao was about to call Xiaohua Junior Brother Xiao, but before he could open his mouth, he realized that something was wrong. He hurriedly corrected himself. "This is my master." "Io." Xiaohua immediately understood, and he hurriedly helped Heng Feng up. He smiled and said, "Since he's Senior Brother Li's master, then we're family. There's no need to be so polite." Heng Feng was overjoyed, and he stood up and said, "Junior has received orders from the sect master to visit Zongbao. At the same time, I would like to invite Dao Master to accompany Zongbao to the Utmost Bliss faction." Xiaohua didn't immediately agree. Instead, he looked at Li Zongbao. Li Zongbao hurriedly smiled and said, "Master is very good to me. I've already agreed." "That's good." Xiaohua nodded. Li Zongbao had already told Xiaohua about his experiences in the Utmost Bliss faction. Xiaohua didn't have a good impression of the Utmost Bliss faction, but he had to give Li Zongbao face. He smiled and said, "Since Senior Brother Li has agreed, this Xiao must go. Moreover, this Xiao must lead the Fortune Gates disciples to congratulate Senior Brother Li and Taoist Kai's marriage." Hearing this, Heng Feng hurriedly said, Dao Master doesn't need to worry about Zongbao and Zhuoxia's marriage. This junior was worried about his cultivation, so I warned him. Now that he has received Dao Master's teachings, there's no harm. This junior agrees, they can get married at any time. Thank you, Master. Li Zongbao hurriedly bowed, and Kai Zhuoxia also saluted with blushing eyes. AI, Taoist Heng Ming, you don't even know senior brother Li's aptitude. Back then, you even scolded him for not having a baby? Xiaohua looked at Li Zongbao and sighed. He said to Heng Ming, to tell you the truth, when I met senior brother Li that day, I asked him to join the Fortune Gate. However, to my surprise, he didn't want to leave the Utmost Bliss faction. I don't mind telling you that if the Utmost Bliss faction can have one person reach the Mahayana stage, it can only be senior brother Li. Yes. Heng Feng hurriedly smiled. Dao Master, please don't blame Master. Senior brother Li said unhappily, Master is very good to me, huh? Xiaohua laughed and said, that's good. Then he took out a jade slip and handed it to Heng Ming, saying, this is a method to refine the meridians. I'll give it to the Utmost Bliss faction as a thank you for taking care of senior brother Li. No. Heng Feng hurriedly waved his hand and said, Zongbao is my disciple, it's my duty to take care of him. Master, please take it. Li Zongbao laughed and said, Dao Master Xiao, you have countless secret arts. If you can get one, it's your lucky chance, and also the Utmost Bliss faction's lucky chance. Heng Feng smiled and took it. When he looked at it with his divine thought, his expression changed greatly. P.S. Fellow cultivators who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian. Vote for it, give it as a reward, and thank you to the Alliance leader, Kai in the Rain. Today is the Mid-Autumn Festival. I hope all of you will have a happy holiday and have good luck. Chapter 52:19. Looking at Heng Zhao's expression, Xiaohua was confused and asked, what's wrong? This. Heng Zhao hesitated for a moment, looked at Li Zongbao and said in a low voice, when I saw that way skill that you gave me, I suddenly thought of something. Please tell me. Xiaohua was surprised and asked. Heng Zhu explained, Junior's grandmaster is called Sun Luzhenren. When Junior was young, I served by his side. I remember one time when he was drunk, he accidentally mentioned a secret. He said that he had a secret technique that could cultivate the meridians. He only mentioned a little about it before he passed out drunk. Later, he didn't mention it again, and I gradually forgot about it. But today, when I saw the secret skill, it was somewhat similar. What about Immortal Sun Lu? Xiaohua asked. He died in the Imperial Demon Valley in the last great war of immortals and demons. Heng Zhao replied. Xiaohua understood. He gave Heng Zhao the simplest dragon transformation skill, which was suitable for cultivating the meridians of the human race. There was no dragon jade in his space. Since he woke up in the Xiaoyu continent, the dragon jade had been in his space. Xiaohua had never understood the origin of the dragon jade. Since Xiaohua broke the boundary and fell into the Imperial Demon Valley, Immortal Sun Lu, who had the incomplete dragon jade, died in the Imperial Demon Valley. Although Xiaohua didn't know the specific situation, he was sure that the incomplete dragon jade in his space belonged to Immortal Sun Lu of the Utopia faction. Alas, the way of karma is nothing more than this. After Xiaohua sighed, he took out an even more profound cultivation technique and handed it over to Heng Ming, saying, This Xiao doesn't know if this cultivation technique belongs to Taoist Master Sun Lu, but this Xiao did indeed obtain this cultivation technique from Demon-Resisting Valley. Therefore, this cultivation technique, it's better to return it to its rightful owner. Immortal. Heng Zhao was at a loss. Xiaohua's generosity was really beyond his imagination. This is the karma between me and the Utopia faction. Xiaohua smiled and stuffed the jade slip into Heng Zhao's hand. You can give it to Immortal He Ping. Okay, I thank you on behalf of the Utopia faction. Heng Zhao took the jade slip and said respectfully. Junior brother Xiao. Li Zongbao said, I haven't been back to the Utopia faction for a long time. Since Master is here today, I will go back with him. If you need anything, just send me a message. No need. You just need to focus on your cultivation and accompany fellow Taoist Kai. Xiaohua looked at Kai Wuxia, who was gradually blushing, and suddenly understood something. He smiled and said, "Little brother congratulates senior martial brother Li and fellow Taoist Kai for having a child soon. On the day of senior martial brother Li's wedding, I will go with Fairy Hong Xia to congratulate him." Li Zongbao's face reddened, but he didn't explain himself. He glanced at Kai Wuxia and prepared to leave. Kai Wuxia nodded at Fairy Hong Xia and whispered a few words to her. She smiled generously and said, "I was able to be together with Zongbao all because of Taoist Xiao. If I get married, I will definitely invite you and my sister. I will take my leave now, sister." Suddenly, Fairy Hong Xia, who had been silent all this time, said, "I will go back with you." Kai Wuxia was not the only one who was caught off guard. Even Xiaohua was stunned and looked at Fairy Hong Xia in confusion. Huang Mingxiang, who was next to him, hurriedly said, "Brother Xiao, don't be afraid. Sister Hong Xia is going, but I am here." Xiaohua's face was livid. He ordered, "Tell the disciples to send fellow Taoist Huang back to Tianmen Mountain." Then, Xiaohua looked at Wu Qing, Xiang Zhili, and Cui Yingying who were not far away and said, "Why are you waiting here? Hurry up and learn from Xiong Yi and Li Xiang how to deal with the affairs of the faction." Yes. Xiang Zhili stuck out his tongue and didn't dare to say anything. He obediently led Wu Qing and Cui Yingying away. On the other hand, Huang Mingxiang couldn't help but become anxious when he heard Xiaohua's anger. He stomped his feet in the air and said, "Big brother Xiao, I'll tell you clearly. It doesn't matter if you want me or not, I'll follow you anyway. Don't forget, I kissed you. You and I are destined to be together." Huang Mingxiang, who dared to love and hate, wanted to jump into Xiaohua's arms. Unfortunately, before she could use her magic power, Yuanya raised his hand and grabbed, imprisoning Huang Mingxiang. He agreed and flew away on a cloud. Xiaohua was a little embarrassed and said in a low voice, "Hong Xia, it is not what you think." "Hong Xia." Kai Wuxia also glared at Fairy Hong Xia and scolded, "Don't throw a tantrum. I know Taoist Master Zhao's character. I knew him much earlier than you. I believe in him." Heng Zhao was a little embarrassed. He didn't know if he should say goodbye at this time. "No, sister." Fairy Hong Xia looked at Xiaohua and then looked at Kai Wuxia. He said seriously, "I believe in Xiaohua, and I love Xiaohua deeply in my heart. But the person in front of me is no longer the Xiaohua I know and love. He is Taoist Master Xiao, the Taoist Master Xiao who is the focus of attention, the Taoist Master Xiao who is worshipped by millions of cultivators. He is the #1 person in Xiaoyu continent. How can such a Taoist Master Xiao be my Tao companion?" Xiaohua didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He looked at himself and said, "Hong Xia, no matter how strong I am still Xiaohua. I have not changed at all." Fairy Hong Xia shook her head and said, "That is your feeling, not mine." Fairy Hong Xia took out a pink jade slip from her bosom and handed it to Xiaohua. This was personally delivered by Ling Feiyun of Misty Mountain to Huanhua sect. He said that Shui gave it to me. That day, this jade slip could not be opened. There was a layer of restriction inside. Ling Feiyun did not know what was going on. He only said that he was entrusted by someone. Later on, you suddenly disappeared. I was very anxious and tried to find out more about you. Later on, I heard that Shui and Martial Uncle Helplessness of the Imperial Thunder sect had also fallen. Only then did I suddenly think of this jade slip. When I took it out, the restriction inside had already disappeared. Xiaohua's heart ached. He took the second jade slip that Shui used her life to engrave. He used his divine sense and saw that there were not many words in the jade slip. There were only 4 verses and a line of words. Xie died in Xiaolang's life, Lang escaped in the mist, only in the world of mortals. Fate is shallow, can't meet. Sister Hong Xia, I have gone. I do not regret it. For darling Xiao, I am willing to give up everything. Darling Zhao's future, I will leave it to you. I hope that you can take good care of him. Let him know that you love him as much as I do." Xiaohua's eyes became hot and tears almost fell. Darling Xiao. Fairy Hongxia said warmly, the path of human emotions is not smooth. If there are no bumps and bumps, how can it be smooth and harmonious? That year when I left you those ruthless words, it was also a moment of anger. Later on I regretted it. But fate makes fools of people. Once you left, you did not return. For more than 700 years, I have been waiting. I have also read Xue Xue's Jade Slip countless times. I can also promise you that if there is such an opportunity, I will definitely pay the same as Xue Xue and give up my life. After all, we have both given our true love. But now you... Xiaohua was really puzzled. At this time, he truly understood what it meant to be a needle in the bottom of the sea. I rejected you not because of Huang Mengxiang. Since I can tolerate Xue Xue, I can also tolerate another person. Fairy Hongxia looked at the familiar yet unfamiliar Xiaohua and explained, I rejected you because you are no longer the Xiaohua I loved. The Xiaohua I loved only existed 700 years ago, existing only in my memories and thoughts. 700 years? Fairy Hongxia couldn't help looking up at the horizon and said softly, for 700 years, I missed you every day and night. I cultivated with all my might, did my best to build the Kai family. I wanted to wait until my cultivation reached a certain level before I went to find you, to protect you, to fulfill Xue Xue's dying wish, But suddenly you came back. You came back too unfamiliar, too lofty. You have already become Taoist Xiao, that godlike existence. Looking at millions of cultivators kneeling to you, I also felt the urge to kneel. Facing such a person, how could I dare to love? I don't even have the qualifications to feel ashamed of my inferiority. I am not even worthy to carry your shoes. How could I dare to be the mistress of millions of Fortune Gate's disciples? Hongxia. Kai Wuxia said anxiously, Zongbao is different, his strength is much higher than mine. Without waiting for Kai Wuxia to finish, Fairy Hongxia shook her head and said, Sister, you are you, I am me, Xiaohua is Xiaohua, Li Zongbao is Li Zongbao. You can catch up to Li Zongbao, but can I catch up to Xiaohua? But... Xiaohua still wanted to say something, but Fairy Hongxia said firmly, Darling Xiao, this is no longer the past. I have not changed, but you have changed too much. I can't catch up to you. We really can't go back to the past. As soon as she said that, Shua. Even though it was her own words, Fairy Hongxia couldn't help but cry, I'm sorry. Fairy Hongxia cried as she tried to move her body, wanting to escape. Xiaohua had thought of thousands of endings, and this could be one of them. But the reason for this ending was something he couldn't comprehend even if he cultivated for 1,000,000 years. He really couldn't accept it. Without Xiaohua's consent, Fairy Hongxia naturally couldn't leave. She tried to fly for a long time, but when she looked up, Xiaohua and the rest were still in front of her. Xiaohua! Fairy Hongxia cried and said, I beg you, let me go. Can you bear to see your former lover's final pride being shattered in front of you? Xiaohua bit his lips and nodded slightly. He raised his hand and said, Wife, can your husband hug you one last time? Fairy Hongxia cried and threw herself into Xiaohua's embrace. She bit down on Xiaohua's chest, as if she wanted to vent her 700 years of longing. Her tears fell like rain, as if she wanted to pour down her 700 years of longing. Xiaohua also couldn't help but cry. After the time it took to drink a cup of tea, Fairy Hongxia pushed Xiaohua lightly and said, All right, Taoist Xiao, let go of me. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, vote for it, vote for it, gift it. Damn, writing such an ending for the Mid-Autumn Festival, I wonder if I will be scolded by my fellow Taoists. At the very least, Benbin will ask for mental compensation, right?